Last time, hydroponic was just an idea, barely held together by plugins, betrayals, and pure chaos. But in 2018, things began to shift. With logic out of the picture, a new era of independence began. And so, this is the era that saw the birth of semi-RP. Before we get serious, we need to admit that back then, we were mayhaps a little silly.
Oof.
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 This era had more shutdowns and name changes than I'd like to admit. Mostly to distance ourselves from all the staff betrayals and, frankly, awful management. And before you ask, no, we didn't have anything to hide. Or, okay, maybe a little something, but honestly, we lost way more players than we gained from doing it. So, let's just say we did it for, I don't know, a ritual. Yes, a ritual to, fuse the name gems to summon something truly peak. Let's do it right now. Hoo ha, hoo ha, hoo ha, hoo ha, hoo ha, hoo ah, hoo ah, hoo ah, hoo ah, hoo. It is complete. Yes, it is magnificent. Now, around this time, we dropped the RP branding and started calling ourselves semi-RP. Fun fact, hydroponic was one of the first servers to actually use that term, at least in the way people use it today. But let's not pretend everything was smooth during this era. Admin abuse was still a frequent occurrence. Hell, we even had a staff betrayal so bad it wiped out the Discord. And yes, I'm still mad about losing the original gallery archive. Before Tebex, we used PayPal for donations, which worked quite well, but came with the issue of the almighty chargeback. If someone decided they wanted their money back or wanted to be especially spiteful, all they needed to do was hit a button and voila! They take hold of my money and we fight to determine who gets it. So let me give you a demonstration on how exactly this went. Even with all the chaos, this era saw the start of a burgeoning structure with a level of community development we hadn't seen before. One of the biggest changes was how we handled safe zones. We moved away from just slapping them in cities and buildings and started doing things a little more efficiently and way less intrusive. And that brings us to the major shift that changed the very map the server ran on. With the transition to Kent Raceway and Bellevue as safe zones, we saw quite a bit of evolution in how these safe zones ran, with rule boards and base sizes and prices all becoming standardized for the first time. Much of these innovations were made possible through the utilization of plugins such as Rocket Regions and Advanced Zones, which prevent raiding, zombies, and killing. Well, for the most part anyway. Can't count the number of times these things just stopped working. Alright, let's talk money, because in this era, before the time of Uconomy, we used explosives as currency. Yes, you heard that correctly, we use explosives as currency. And before you say anything, just hear me out. Now, in the server, there were 4 main denominations of currency. Raw explosives equivalent to 1, grenades equivalent to 2, sticky grenades equivalent to 3, and demolition charges equivalent to 5. They also counted as, precision charges too. Now, this worked so well because these items spawned in higher tier loot location, while also being a currency that was easy to understand and explain to new players. It's definitely one of my better ideas and made Hydro unique. Quick detour, but let's talk about the placeable buildings mod. It was, well, interesting to say the least. And by interesting, I mean a complete nightmare, especially when you get to certain admin editors. And I'm looking directly at you, Kronos. Oh my god, the admin edits the whole safe zone in the goddamn sky and acts like nothing happens? I hate this guy, I hate this guy. And well, if you don't know what the placeable buildings is, it's a simple mod that adds in placeable buildings, which, if you can imagine, works like a tent, allowing you to place your doors and your windows, but was very impractical as a result of admin weapons. And even worse is that our admin weapons, the Nyan Cat gun, was always a shotgun. Why a shotgun? I don't know, why? But it was. And with it having admin weapon damage, would just sometimes randomly, one of its pellets would just blow off and destroy random buildings or random other things. Can you imagine the fact that we used that weapon for admins for years? It's gotta be the most Shut up, Willie. So for bases in Safe Zone, we actually came up with a standardized layout based on metal floor sizes, those being 1x2, 2x2, 2x3, and 3x3. There was also a rare circular base size, which is basically the pre-map editor equivalent to the mansion size. We also used the base size to set limits on lockers, rifle racks, and all the other limits we still use to this day. With metal bases, we also had the ability to upgrade to a second floor, which, beyond the added space, also granted an upgrade in limits, usually upgrading to the larger size limits. Now, one last fun fact is that Hydroponic popularized the matching of brick pillars with metal, which became a standard across semi-RP servers over time. There were many new mods added and removed at different times during this era. They're all, however, important parts of the server. However, I can't showcase all of them, so let's give a quick showcase some of the more notable ones, starting with Karot's Food Mod++. I probably butchered the name. Regardless, this mod played a big part in strengthening the RP, with many players having restaurants, even bars, using this food mod. Anyway, next one is the Toxicity mods. The backpacks, the weapon crafting, the vehicles, and the lockers. The lockers is the biggest one here, and the weapon crafting, obviously backpacks still used to the modern day. Then we have the Nordic Armory mod, which that gun pack was crazy, amazing, and that one even got used way into the next era of the Golden Age. Anyway, there were many more, but these are the few notable ones that I wanted to mention in this video. Another interesting point about this era was the choice of rare items that would continue all the way into the Golden Age era of the server. Basically, rare items are what are now often referred to as event items, or items that are given away as rewards, and are, as the name suggests, rare. So without further ado, I'll quickly list out many of the different rare items of the era. The France focus weapons, the DMR, the prototype, the SMG, and the rifle, the France flamethrower, the XR9, the Blood Dragon, the shovel launcher, the Carl Gustav, and many, many more. Overall, the rare items really contributed to making the server feel unique in a way that made players happy. People wanted to collect these items like they do in the modern era, and they went crazy for it, even though they were just basic weapons, they didn't have any special abilities or anything. People still loved them, and that's what made them special even back then. There was also a linked Russia server that existed for a few months during the era that allowed players to transfer their items between servers using Vault. Most players, as you can imagine, did not care for Russia in the slightest. That was until they realized they could grind MK2s and bring them back to the Washington server to PvP with. I'll just give you a quick demonstration of this process. Now, before we get to the conclusion of this video, we should list off the many notable figures which made this era the way it is. Thick Benson, with the Puma Pants incident.
I'm the Puma Pants!
Soviet Sergeant, who made our money art, and this communist Willy Billy. He's also known for his immaculate admin editing. Scarce, of Hydroponic Spy fame. Then we have everyone else, who are all still important, and most of them loved, but I'm not going to yap to you about all of them. So let's go over them quickly. Biggie Boy Boom, Razor Mystic, 2D, Bravo, Jesus, Slicer, Matt, Baseball, Zenith, Meme, Mason, Jax, and Nikki. Obviously there's more, but you know. Anyway, moving on. Things really started to shift by the end of this era. The server wasn't just a chaotic RP playground anymore. It was starting to resemble a distinct experience that added to the base game, with the additions of plugins like Economy, Vault, and Garage working to lay the groundwork for the era that truly defined what Hydroponic is and was. This era, despite its rough edges, was where the server's identity started to form. It wasn't perfect by any means, but with every mistake and success helping to create the conditions for the next era. This next era, well, that is where most things clicked. The success, the drama, the peak, and eventually the fall, and great rise before the crackles of the fire turned into silent ash. For many, it's what defines Hydroponic, and for some, what defines Unturned servers entirely. And yet, we still have more of this story to tell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye!